Hello, I'm Michael Millum, pastor of Amazing Grace Lutheran Church in Lawrenceville, Georgia, and I hope you are blessed by the hearing and preaching of God's Word today.
You are the 1 in 10. You are the ones who have made the effort to return to Jesus this morning, to give your thanks and praise to God for your many blessings in worship. Think about it. Of all the people who could be here this morning or in some other house of worship, you are the ones who have made the time and the effort to be here this morning to offer your thanks and praise to God. Now, does that mean that all of those who woke this morning and looked out and saw that it's cloudy and we're still yawning in bed and rolled over instead of getting up and getting dressed are not grateful for the blessings in their lives? Right. I don't think that that's an indication that those who are not here are ungrateful. Jesus asked the question at the beginning of today's gospel reading. We're not 9, or we're not 10 made clean. And where are the other 9? How is it that only this one foreigner returns to give thanks and praise to God? 10 lepers approached Jesus, asking him to cure them. And of course, Jesus does. One of them, we're told, is a Samaritan. He's singled out because he's a Samaritan. And I'm sure, as all of you know by now, Jews hated Samaritans. Presumably, the other 9 men in this story are Jews. Samaritans were considered ritually unclean by Jews. But of course, in this case, that doesn't really matter because all 10 of them are unclean by virtue of the fact that they have leprosy. So the fact that one of them is a Samaritan really is moot in this story. And Jesus tells the 10 men that they are to go and show themselves to the priest. They are to fulfill the provision that is laid down in the Torah, in the law, to go and show themselves to the priest. And if the priest agrees that they have been made clean of their leprosy, they will be allowed to return home. What you may not know is that in Jesus' day, any break in the skin, any rash, could have been regarded as leprosy. That means that the heartbreak of psoriasis, folks, could very well have been regarded as leprosy in that time. Eczema, athlete's foot, shingles, conditions that we have names and treatments for today, very well could have been lumped in as leprosy. So many people were regarded as lepers who really were not. And of course, if the condition cleared up, as it would sometimes, if it was one of the conditions I had mentioned, then you could go and show yourselves to a priest. And if the priest gave you a clean bill of health, you would be allowed to return home. Because as a leper, you were shunned. You were unclean. There was fear that the illness would spread. And so you were made to leave your homes and your families, everything that was important in your lives, and go and live in colonies with other lepers. And so in these colonies, you had Jews and Samaritans living side by side because they were all unclean together. Now, we're the 9 who did not return to offer thanks to Jesus for healing them. Were they ungrateful for the cure that they had received? I'm guessing probably not. Maybe they were. Maybe they considered this to be justice for them. And when justice is finally done, who gives thanks for that? Because it's only what is right and what is due to us. Indeed, many of us believe that what I would regard as blessings in our lives are a part of our just due. Great many people feel that our material blessings, our money, our wealth, are the products purely of our hard work and our ingenuity. We earned them. And if we earn them, to whom do we give thanks? Others of us look at the blessings in our lives and are grateful, but like the 9 lepers in today's story, we're grateful quietly and from a distance. We don't necessarily go out of our way to offer thanks to God or to anybody else for their acts of caring and kindness. And I think that's what's going on in today's gospel reading. I don't think it's a question of the 9 men not being grateful. I think they were simply eager to get on with their lives because their lives had been restored to them by Jesus in curing their leprosy. They were eager to get home to their families, to their livelihoods, their loved ones. Who knows how long they had lived apart from them. These were more pressing matters on their minds. And indeed, that is, I think, what happens to all of us. We have many pressing matters on our minds, concerns, burdens, worries that seem to preoccupy our attention much of the time. And so the act of giving thanks and praise to God for all of the other blessings, the gifts that we have received in our lives may be pushed to the background quite often. A number of years ago, I read a small book on stewardship that was called Ask, Thank, Tell by a man named Charles Lane. And he has a chapter about each of those categories. Ask, he says. The church must be bold in asking for the things that are needed to carry out the church's mission. And of course, this includes asking for the money that is necessary to fund our mission and our ministry. Thank, as I explained to the children a few minutes ago. Thankfulness is hopefully a natural response that we have of gratitude for the many blessings that we have received. So our offerings on Sunday morning are an expression of that thanksgiving. And then tell the story of how the ministry and mission of the church has positively affected the lives of others. Now, in the chapter on Thanksgiving in this book, the author argues that the pastor should set the example for thankfulness in his or her congregation. And so this author goes on to suggest that the pastor should set aside time, 20 or 30 minutes on a Monday morning, first thing, to jot some thank you notes to the members of his or her congregation for the ways in which he or she has seen them serve Christ and others through the church. And when I read this suggestion, it inspired me a few years ago, so I set out to try and accomplish this. I would do my best to, when I hit my office on Monday morning, start writing some thank you notes to people and get them sent off. My problem was that usually by the time I arrived at my office, I already had a number of more pressing matters or details on my plate. And often what I did was I said to myself, okay, I'm going to address these issues now, first thing, get them out of the way, and then I will come back to writing my thank you notes to people in my congregation. And occasionally I was disciplined enough to do that. But very often, as the day went on, there were just more and more things that presented themselves to me that had to be dealt with, and I never quite made it back to offering my thanks in writing to people in my congregation. So did that mean I wasn't grateful for the work and the ministry that they had done? No, it didn't mean that. However, how were they to know that I was grateful for the witness and the ministry that they had rendered to Christ and to others? If I didn't take the time to write a note to them or say something to them, or if others did not, how were they to know that they were appreciated for all that they were doing? And indeed, we need, I think, that affirmation. Charles Lane in the book says, you can't thank people too often. Too seldom, yes, but not too often. I think that often we tend to have gratitude for big things in our lives. Our health, our spouses, our children, our grandchildren. And I believe that when I take the opportunity to read what is written on these pieces of fruit, I will probably find that those are the things that are identified. Those are the things that come to mind most readily when we are asked, what are we thankful for? But I believe that it's the little blessings in life that sometimes are the greatest indication of God's love and care for us. The little details that make life more enjoyable and richer for us that come to us. And I've got a silly example to offer this morning to illustrate this idea. My wife, Deb, does the shopping for our household, the grocery shopping and other kinds of shopping. And there are times when I will offer to help her with that. You know, I don't mind stopping by the store to get, one or two things. But I realize that she has a great deal on her plate as well, and so I wouldn't mind taking some of that burden off of her. And she usually declines, though. I think because she realizes that I will certainly take care of some of the big picture items, the things that we all need and utilize in our homes. The meats that we like to eat, lunch meat, cheese, dog food, toilet paper, paper towels, the kinds of things that you're going to rush out to the store and replenish as soon as they're gone. But the little things, other items that we might like to have or might need, are likely to be forgotten by me. Because I am a big picture type of person. I'm not a detail-oriented person. And so she does the shopping. And oftentimes after she's completed the grocery shopping, I will open up a cabinet or the refrigerator, and I'll find something that's appeared, a little snack for me, a drink that I might like to have, or a dessert that I can actually enjoy, that she's picked up for me. And it's an expression of her thoughtfulness and her love and her caring. Something that I probably would not have done if I had been doing the shopping. And certainly, I have not gone out of my way to ask for any of this. She just has provided it for me to enjoy. And to me, that's a reflection of God's love and caring for us. Taking care of the big things and the little things. The items that bring joy and richness to our lives. We have a God who feeds the birds of the air and clothes the grass of the field. A God who takes care of all of those large things and the smaller blessings of our lives. God is the source of all of it. Now, Thanksgiving is a major part of what we gather on Sunday mornings to do. It's a part of every aspect of our worship when you think about it. It's a part of the songs that we sing, certainly. We've experienced that. There's been a great deal, I think, of joy and thankfulness that has been given in our songs and the music that is being provided for us. Thanksgiving is part of our prayer life. It's a part of our offerings, as I said to the children. Eucharist, which we celebrate here every week. The bread and wine, the body and blood of Jesus Christ. The word Eucharist is a Greek word that means thanksgiving, folks. Thanksgiving is what we are here, among other things, to do, to offer our thanks and praise to God. And you are the 1 in 10 who have made it here this morning. When you think about all of the others who might be here or in some other house of worship, and you tried to attach a number or a ratio to that, it might be somewhere in the neighborhood of 1 in 10, although I have a feeling it would probably be much smaller than that, quite honestly. But you have made the time and the effort to be here. And in some cases, you had to get up even earlier to get children dressed and ready to be here, to get a spouse dressed and ready. And you drove out in the rain to be here this morning. You made the time and the effort to be here to offer your thanks and praise to God. Now, unlike us, God doesn't need your praise and your thanksgiving. God doesn't need that as an affirmation of who He is and to validate what He does for us. But I'm sure God appreciates it. I mean, who doesn't appreciate being thanked when they have done something kind and caring for another person? And you are the 1 in 10 who are here this morning to offer that thanks and praise. And as Jesus says at the end of the gospel reading today, get up and go on your way. Your faith has made you well. Your faith is a blessing to you and to others.